Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCollum, and I'm here today at Morphy's with a pair of very rare Lugers. These are Portuguese Navy contract Lugers. The Portuguese Navy didn't buy very many of these guns at all. We're talking less than 1,000 of them over the course of a couple decades, and they're pretty scarce to find these days. Now, we have one of the very early contracts and also one of the much later contracts, which is cool as well. So the Portuguese Army adopts the Luger in 1908. They adopt it in 7.65 parabellum caliber. That's 7.65 by 21 millimeter. It is a bottlenecked pistol cartridge, and it's the round that the Luger was originally developed to use. The 9mm parabellum cartridge comes about as an alternative option because there were some countries, some clients for DWM, who thought the pistol was cool, but they thought the cartridge was a bit underpowered and they wanted more bullet. So DWM took this bottlenecked 7.65 case and they just necked it up to essentially, not quite straight wall, it's got a little bit of a taper to it, but essentially straight wall, as big of a bullet as they could get without having to change the case head. That gave them 9mm parabellum, which they began offering as an alternative caliber, and of course that cartridge ends up taking over the world essentially and being the predominant service pistol cartridge used today. Anyway, the Portuguese Navy is watching the Army go through its adoption trials. They decide that looks like a pretty good gun, the Army's tested it out pretty well, we'll go ahead and order a bunch for us as well. The Navy doesn't need a lot of Lugers, but they do use pistols, officers on ships, boarding parties, that sort of thing. And so in 1909, late 1909, they order 650 Luger pistols, but specifically in 9mm caliber. They designate this the M1910 or M910 in Portuguese phraseology. And the pistols arrive between 1910 and August of 1912. So they're all in place before the beginning of World War I, which is good because World War I, of course, is going to interrupt Luger supplies to anyone who isn't Imperial Germany. Now, the one awkward thing that did happen here is during the deliveries of these pistols, the Portuguese monarchy was overthrown and replaced by a republic. And so the first batch of the guns have a royal emblem on the top of the frame, or the top of the barrel assembly. They have a crown over a naval anchor. That was replaced, shall we say, after 350 guns had been delivered, with the letters RP for Republic of Portugal. Now, skip forward a couple of decades into the mid-1930s, the world situation is getting a bit more tense. The Navy decides they would like to get some more pistols, but they don't need a whole lot. It's like they order 156 more pistols between 1935 and 1941. Those are no longer marked with the RP. They don't have any special chamber marking on them at all, but they come into Portugal in a couple different batches, and we have one of those that I can show you as well. So let's take a closer look at these two and see what distinguishes a Portuguese Navy Luger. Here is our early Navy pattern. This is the M910 or model 1910 Luger. Looks pretty much like a basic standard Luger. These are 9mm caliber. They all have the 100mm barrel. It's a 4-inch barrel. This is the 1906 pattern or new model of Luger. You can distinguish that externally by these solid round toggle grasping lugs. The old pattern of Luger had sort of dished out lugs. More importantly, the technological improvement of the 1906 new pattern was the use of a coil mainspring back here instead of the original S-curved flat spring. So good. This was a major improvement by Luger. This is really one of the very few substantial mechanical changes made to the Luger over the course of its production. I want to point out on the magazine here, this is kind of cool, there's a little script marking on the base of the magazine that says caliber 9mm, just to make sure that you don't get it mixed up with a 7.65 caliber magazine. Well, 7.65 caliber gun, because the magazines are exactly the same for both calibers. The case head and the case body are the same diameter, so you don't have to actually change the feed lips at all for 9 versus 7.65 caliber Lugers. Up on top of the chamber, we have our Portuguese Navy marking. So this is one of the second batch that came in. These would be serial numbers 351 through 650, 300 guns total, marked for RP, Republic of Portugal, and this fouled anchor naval emblem. It's a little bit difficult to see under some of the corrosion there, but these are also marked with an MP, where the M and the P are sort of entwined. The far vertical of the M is also the base for the P, and that is a Portuguese Navy acceptance mark that stands for Marinha Portuguesa, something like that. Marinhada Guerra Portuguesa. Anyway, stands for Portuguese Navy. Sorry to all the Portuguese people who had to listen to that. The Navy did opt to get a grip safety on these pistols. That's another variation you'll see in Lugers, just in general around the world, is some people wanted the grip safety, some didn't. Most distinctively, the German P08 does not have a grip safety on it. Now, the Portuguese got some customization. The safety markings on this one have been ground off, but I can show you the extractor marking there. The extractor also doubled as a loaded chamber indicator, and it is marked loaded. In this case, it is marked loaded Carregada in Portuguese. And by the way, the safety marking here originally was also in Portuguese. The serial numbers here are just 3 digits, no letters or anything, and they're in all the standard places. So the full serial number is on the bottom of the frame. This is 419. And then we'll see the last 2 digits, the serial number, in a few other places. We've got one there. We've got one on the back of the toggle, on the underside of the disassembly lever, and of course on the barrel itself. Now, fast forward a couple decades to the late 1930s, Portugal, the Portuguese Navy needs a handful more Lugers, not that many, 156 total over the course of 5 or 6 years. And now they're making orders from Mauser, but they're ordering the same M910 pattern of pistol that they had previously gotten from DWM. So we no longer have any special marking on the chamber, just typical blank Mauser chamber. We do have the Mauser powder barrel logo on the toggle there. And Mauser did give them those customized Portuguese markings. So the safety is marked Seguranca, and the extractor / loaded chamber indicator is marked Carregada. And instead of having their own special serial number range, these just came out of like generic Mauser commercial production guns. So they will be found in the V serial number block. This is part of a specific batch that went from 4301V to 4350V. It's a well-known part of the range with a whole bunch of Portuguese Navy pistols reported in it. So you have the full serial number on the frame, and then the number without its suffix there on the barrel. And everywhere else you would expect this from Mauser commercial production guns. Note that we have a German proof mark on this one. We don't have a German proof mark on the previous ones because instead it has that Portuguese MP naval proof mark. Got those last 2 digits, 33s, just everywhere on this. There's another one. And so these would basically fill out the requirements for the Portuguese Navy for World War II. During World War II, in the early 1940s, there would be just a couple more little sporadic orders for Lugers from Portugal, from the Portuguese Navy. Instead of getting the Portuguese pattern of gun, these orders were fulfilled with just straight German P08 pattern pistols. So Portugal is one of those countries that had a good relationship with Germany. They were using a bunch of German guns, and they were actually ordering German small arms right up to, and in some cases during, World War II. So the Portuguese used German Dreise machine guns, they used MG34s, they used Kar 98Ks, and you can find all of the, there are examples of almost all of these where they were manufactured for Portugal, and then before they were shipped, they were redirected for use by the German military because of exigent war needs. Anyway, a lot of Portuguese overlap in German military orders. So very cool to get a chance to take a look at these two. Because these orders were of such small quantity, they're really scarce variations on Lugers. Be aware that they are faked. All of them are faked, so caveat emptor, always get the best resources you can when looking to purchase a rare collectible piece like this, especially a Luger. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Big thanks to Morphees for giving me access to these two examples to show to you guys. Thanks for watching.